Yeah, what is up, everybody? I hope you guys all had a badass weekend, and I hope your Monday is set to be awesome. And if it's not, I hope this helps you a little bit. My weekend was great, and one of those reasons was that I finally took the time to jump in and try out the Pentagon missions in the Division 2, and I gotta say they're pretty damn cool. The environments are cool. They really do kind of set the mood. The music, the setting, locations, all of those are really nice. They had a good variety of rooms, stuff like that, and overall they were pretty fun. Unfortunately, once you play through them once, maybe you go back and you do them on challenging or something like that to get the commendations. There's not much more to them than that, and that's kind of what we're gonna get into today because this game really needs playability. I have to say though that the entire time that I was playing through this, I couldn't help but wonder what could have been had we gotten Underground 2.0 in this update. I know a lot of people thought that was going to be what we were going to get, and when we didn't get it, that idea kind of sucks. After all, we played through these missions to essentially steal what looks like a radioactive fleshlight. How cool would it have been if we actually played through them for something useful to someone other than super horny Godzilla? Before I get into it, please do all of the things that help creators do what it is that we do. Like and share this, at least if you liked it and if you want to share it. Please come find me on Twitch. My streams are essentially like a talk radio show where you are the most important guest. We feed off of each other, and so it just makes the conversations better when I'm having it with other people. So please do me a huge favor. After you watch this, hop over to twitch.tv/IamJanko, click the little heart button. That's a free and easy way to support me, and then turn on notifications. That way the next time I go live, you can get a notification. You can come on in and hang out with us, and we can talk about this and other random crazy stuff in the world of video games, movies, TVs, anything geek, we talk about it. Now, this game needs a replayable content loop with cool, awesome rewards and intentionality. And so before I started playing this, I had an idea in mind of what I thought would be pretty cool. But while I was playing through these missions, that idea morphed into something even more badass. And that, to be honest, overall, made me feel a little bit more bummed out over what could have been. I mentioned that earlier. I can't mention it enough. So to start, I don't really understand why we have a public space. To me, this just totally screams that this update was supposed to be something more than just a couple of straightforward missions. There's no safe house for any other episodic content in this game, so why here? The zoo doesn't have one, Camp White Oak doesn't have one, and there's nothing to do there, so why is it there? Like, the save house is completely unnecessary for 2 missions, and honestly, that leads me to believe that at some point in the development process, this was supposed to be something more than what it is. And that's where my brain really started creating an idea, and that's where we're gonna start for my idea. Now, wait, no, I lied again. To preface this, I need to say that I do not know how to make video games. If I did, I would be doing that instead of this. To be honest, I'd probably be doing that in addition to this, but anyway, I just want to say I have no idea what goes into creating games or systems like I'm suggesting, and maybe it just wasn't possible. That said, I love to live in a fantasy world, so here is my giant what if. Yep, we're actually going to start now. No, we're not. Actually, my idea for this only uses the resources and stuff that were already created for episode 2, and while I do steal some stuff from Title Update 6, I think me shifting those from Title Update 6 to Underground 2.0 makes this idea even more amazing. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, there's a few kind of extra things here and there that I kind of tossed in, but yeah. So in Title Update 6, we got 35 or so new named items. Now, as far as I know, and I haven't looked too much into this, these drop while doing activities in the real world. Play the game, hope to get them, or perhaps, I'm not sure, maybe each one of them have like an assigned place and drop chance. I'm not too sure, to be honest. But anyway, here's what we do with those in my system. We split them up into 3 different pools. 5 of them we attach to the heroic bounty hunts. Each week, one of those has a chance to drop every time that you beat the heroic bounty. That happens for 5 weeks as they're set to a rotation, and at the end of those 5 weeks, all 5 get tossed into the same loot pool, and now every time you beat the heroic bounty, you get a chance at one of the 5 to drop, perhaps with better drop chances now that all 5 are in, whatever. These have like the one named talent, but the rest of them are random rolls, so there's a reason to redo these. And at this point, I kind of have to say, I can't remember if you can redo the heroic bounties. It's been a while since I did one. And if you can't, that would need to be changed, but I think you can do them. You just don't get the classified points for them for doing it again. And maybe they could reduce the intel cost after you do it the first time. And look at that. What did we just do, everybody? We just created a rewarding, replayable content loop. And what does this game need? Rewarding, replayable content loops. Look at that, dude. We are kicking ass already in this video. Now, the next 5 named items just get tossed into the general loot pool for the entire game. Play the game, kill anything, you get a small chance to get one of these to drop. Now, what does this do? This gives people a reason to play whatever the hell they want for a chance at these items. That's it. Play what you want, get the items eventually. Friggin' nailed it. Got it. Now, the next 5, we take and we create scavenger hunts for them. This would admittedly be one of those instances where I say this takes more resources than what we got currently. But honestly, folks, I think we'd all agree that we would gladly wait a few weeks for this system than to have, for the system that we're coming up with, rather than to get what we got, even though it was on time. I don't know. Maybe that's wrong of me to say, but that's how I feel. Now, for these scavenger hunts, they can be pretty simple. They start with something as simple as like a message from command telling us that some civilians called saying they were getting some radio interference and that we need to check out a section in Foggy Bottom, or they found a weird note and we need to check it out. Whatever. These possibilities would be better left up to someone that is good at this kind of stuff, because my brain's kind of fried already coming up with everything that I did. Whatever these little story things are, somebody else is better at writing that kind of stuff. Anyway, once you get there, you check out the thing, that leads you to another thing, which leads you to another thing, and eventually, after finding all of those things, you find the actual thing that you're looking for. And this would add some non-combat sleuthing or detectiving, or actually detecting, because that's a real word, to do for the people that like to do that sort of thing. For those that don't, they can either not do them or do them once and be done with it and just kind of suck it up, be done with it. It's a lot like those hunter missions, right? Some of those were pretty simple, some were more involved. These could be pretty simple or more involved. I just think that would be super badass. Okay, so that takes care of 15 of the 35 named items, and we have already created more engaging content loops than anything that's in the game right now, because as of right now, again, I think they're just either random drops or do this, get it, and you're done. Okay, so what do we do with the last 20? Well, I am going to tell you, because this is my coup de grace, my best idea ever. Truly. Here it is. Underground 2.0. So we got the player space that I mentioned earlier, right? Well, going into Underground 2.0, we all start there. Or going into this update, rather, we all start there. And if this is our first time through, we play through these 2 missions exactly the way that we did for the story mode. We do the story. Everything is the exact same. We get out the giant fleshlight and all of that, the same as we already have. Now, after we get out of there, we get a communication, and we're told that Isaac's discovered that all of the servers weren't wiped out at the end there, and there's still some government-developed top-secret blueprints on an isolated server that was offline when we were in there, so it was unaffected by the EMP. That means we need to go back to the Pentagon. Now, here's where things kind of change up. They could use the same rooms that they already made, but change up the order of them randomly, like they did in Underground for the first game. And maybe even they could add in other enemy types, because now that the black hole or the Black Tusk broke in, there's a giant hole in the wall, and other factions can come pouring and trying to steal anything that they can get their hands on. The important part here is that we always end up in the server room. When we make our way there through different branching pathways of, I don't know, maybe 5 rooms, but we always end up there. When we finally get to the server room, somewhere in a corner or maybe in another office, one of the doors open, whatever, there's an isolated server. Obviously, we know that. Isaac already told us. We get time to hack it, and when we do, 5 named blueprints pop up. Now, at this time, every person in the squad, right, whether you do this solo or whether you do this with 4 people, everybody interacts with that server, and each person can pick whichever of the 5 blueprints they want, right? So Isaac warns us that we've tripped up an anti-personnel safety system. We've got 3 minutes to download our blueprint and get the F out before the entire room is sealed off and the oxygen sucked out and we die a horrible, suffocating death. Oh no, will we make it? Well, of course we do, because I do believe that this should be a guaranteed drop. Anyway, the blueprints that are in the computer are made up of the remaining 20 from the 35 that they already released. So these are already in the game. This is what we're talking about. 5 are available each week for the first 4 weeks. After the first 4 weeks, there's another rotation of the same 5 each week, right? So we get 5, and then the next week we get 5, the next week we get a different 5, the next week we get a different 5. Then on that 5th week, it goes back to the first week to start that rotation again. After 8 weeks, all 20 blueprints are on the system. And the reason that you want to do that is because if after 2 months you haven't gotten the blueprint that you need, or you haven't gotten the roll on that one item that you want, you can consistently and intentionally go for it. Because ultimately, without that, I think it could feel super, super punishing if you never get the roll that you want. Everyone in the group selects the blueprint they want. They defend the room while Isaac finishes the downloads. You kill the waves, you kill the boss in 2 minutes, run to the exit, and you're free. You have now escaped the Pentagon with your badass new blueprint. Now what? Well, you inspect the blueprint, you find out that each blueprint needs 5 resources to craft. So once again, you get a comm the first time you do this, by the way. This communication is not going to come every time, because it would be annoying as F to get this every time that you do this after the first. But anyway, the communication says that after going through your body cam footage while you were in the DARPA labs, blah, 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 they saw this massively cool, new, super awesome prototype 3D printer in the DARPA labs that might be able to make these items. And honestly, resources that we need for these items would be there, if anywhere. So get back down in the DARPA labs. To do that, we go back to the safe house. Once here, we select the DARPA path, and off we go. Same thing. We start down the path into the DARPA labs. We could start in the sewers and then work our ways up, or start in offices, then down to the sewers, then back up. Again, the interchangeable system of rooms wouldn't matter the order that they're in. Same thing with random enemies. But the point is at the end, you get to that cool looking lab room eventually. Once you're there, each room, random enemies, we've already said that, blah, blah, blah. Now, as you kill these enemies, one of these 5 blueprints would drop in every room. That's why the number of rooms is kind of important, right? It can either drop the way that the keys dropped in Division 1, where you kill the final boss in the room, or the final enemy in the room, and doing, like the yellow key pops up, or maybe you have to search through a drawer. Whatever it is, it should be relatively simple, because honestly, if you're doing this for the 20th, 50th, or 100th time, if it's like a scavenger hunt, or like you have to search every nook and cranny in a room, it's going to be super frustrating, and this is supposed to be fun, so make it relatively easy. Anyway, you make it to the lab. There's this giant 3D printer. Everyone interacts with it to add in their blueprints. By doing so, of course, because this is the Division, and we have to have a convoluted system in order to create a loop, it triggers another defensive system. You guessed it, another 2.5 minutes, and we're all going to be dead. Room's going to be sealed. We're going to die. That's going to suck. The Division is going to end. We can't play anymore. Oh, no. What do we do? Well, honestly, we kill, we defend, we GTFO. After you kill the named boss, you interact with the printer, you get your item, you find out that when it downloaded the blueprint, the printer had a programming protocol to actually wipe the storage device that was used, and so now you have an empty drive, but a super cool new item. And then you get out. You climb out, maybe you move to that extraction point that's already there, you get extracted, you got your cool new item, you check the rolls, you're either super happy or you're super bummed. Either way, you can go back in and do that entire process all over again. Matchmaking with the people that are on the same step as you. Now, I did have another idea for this. Instead of going two separate branches, one for Pentagon and one for DARPA, I did have one that ends in the same room that has both the blueprint and the printer in it, and everybody in the group can either get their blueprint or print their item based on which part of the quest that they're on. But I thought might be too difficult to program or whatever. Again, I have no idea what it takes to program any of this, but honestly, I think that would be fun as absolute hell, and I'm pretty bummed out that we didn't get it. It would add intentionality, because you go for whichever blueprint you want that's available for the week, but eventually they all do become available, until you get the role that you want, which is ultimately what we all want, right? Great roles. We all want God roles. These have some randomness to them, so it would add replayability for that reason, and it adds freshness through each playthrough, at least for like the first 50 or 100 times. Eventually, as even the first Underground did, it will get boring. But you can always add more stuff to this. In episode 3, if they do just story missions or whatever, they could add in more new weapons. Every time they add in new weapons, if they add in 5 new weapons, 2 or 3 could be added into the loot pool. Another 2 or 3 might be able to be found on these servers. So yeah, I don't know. To me, it's a brilliant system, and I would even love to see this or something like this instituted moving forward if they can. I don't know, but that's my idea for Underground 2.0, and just a taste of honestly why episode 2 was, while it was pretty cool, was ultimately pretty disappointing for me, because it could have been, and honestly, in my opinion, should have been so much better. So what do you all think? Do you like my idea? Do you have your own? How are you liking episode 2 and title update 6 so far? Let me know in the comments, and seriously, please come hang out on Twitch sometime. I live for these types of discussions, and again, my stream's very much like a talk radio show, and I'd love for you guys to be there and to have some of these conversations. So thank you guys very much for the time to watch this. I appreciate it. I love you. You guys rock. And please remember to keep on living the dream.